Grand Rising. How is everybody? I missed y'all. Okay, so I finally got my morning routine down to where I can get on here and go live for Petals of Wisdom. So if you've been following me for a while, then you got used to me going live in the car on my way to work and just sharing different downloads that I was getting and just dropping different kinds of knowledge. Um, on my way to work. And it was all cool and fine until I was rear-ended on 40 leaving work. And I was like, nope, not doing that anymore because it's in less than a year. I have experienced two different car accidents, and while I was blessed enough to walk away with my life, baby, my body is experiencing some structural difficulties that are very uncomfortable. And on top of all of that, like psychologically now, you got a tad bit of PTSD that you're working through, okay? So I didn't want to leave y'all hanging because those pedals, like we was getting it popping in the morning. So it has just required me to have some discipline to get up early enough to be able to do the pedals of wisdom sedentary in my studio where I don't got to worry about no car accidents. Okay. So instead of 8 a.m., it's going to be more like 7:30, 7:45, 7:25. It's just going to be in that 7 o'clock hour on the weekdays. So be on the lookout for that. Okay. So without further ado, allow me to introduce myself for those who may not know. I am the one, the only Zaya Samai Kefir Sekim Heru Kimet. And I help overgivers who struggle to speak their truth and be themselves, craft, and implement the ultimate blueprint to total life transformation through alchemy, psychology, and herbalism. All right. Today I want to talk about the power of perception. Okay. I want to talk about the power of perception. And I think it's important to have this conversation because a lot of us do not study psychology. We do not do the work of mastering our minds. And because we don't do the work of mastering our minds and understanding the difference between reality, truth, and perception, we end up experiencing all kinds of misunderstandings. So let's get into it. I always like to talk about the power of perception through teaching the four agreements. Right? There are actually five in total, and they are. If you read the book, The Fifth Agreement, you're able to learn about all five. Okay, so let's get into that, and then I want to talk about how perception, the role that perception plays in that. So the five agreements. The first agreement is to be immaculate with your word. Um, it is very, very necessary to be immaculate with your word, and what that means is to speak with intention, to be very aware of what you are putting out into the atmosphere with your words. Okay. The moment that you formulate a sound with your mouth, you are casting a spell. That's what spelling is, period. Okay? Grammar, Grammys, spells, all of that. It's all a ritual. You are a living, breathing, walking God, goddess, which means you have power and dominion and you are manifesting all the time. You're manifesting when you're awake. You're manifesting when you're asleep. You're manifesting when you speak. You're manifesting when you think. You're manifesting when you feel. You're manifesting all the time. So it is important for you to be immaculate with your word. So that means be very clear about the intention behind the words you're speaking out of your mouth so that you are not creating unwanted consequences and circumstances. So if you want a positive consequence to come out of the situation, then make sure that you are using the words that are going to generate a positive consequence. Make sure that the thoughts that you're thinking and the emotions that you're feeling while you're speaking those words are in alignment with the consequences that you want to experience, whether positive or negative. Okay. The second rule is to not make assumptions. Don't make assumptions. I think that's the second rule. Do I got the book up here? Because I don't want to forget. So it's be immaculate with your word. Don't make assumptions. Don't take anything personal. Do your best. Do your best every day. And the fifth one is be skeptical, but ask questions. So those are the 5 agreements. So let's get into what it means to make assumptions. Assumptions are made when you assume or you presume that you know and understand what a person means by what they say and what they do. And I'm going to just go ahead and tell you, no matter how much you know a person, no matter how much you've been around a person, you never 100% completely and totally know their intentions. Why? Because you have not lived their life. Our assumptions are based on the meaning that we apply to words, the meaning that we apply to behaviors, and the experience and the emotions it generates inside of us based on what is happening, what we're hearing. And then we put all of this together in this little recipe and create this story that we just automatically assume is true. And it's not true, and it's not the case. Your assumptions are based on your past experiences. Through your past experiences, you have attached meaning to words, behaviors, situations, and all kinds of things that you need to unpack. So just because I'm gonna use I've experienced it a couple of times in the past couple of weeks. So let me see if I can use an example. Or I'm gonna use an example way back. So as a child, I had this thing about being dark skinned. And it was spawned out of the assumptions that I made as a child of what my mother's intentions were behind the conversation she would have with me about my complexion. Now, when I put everything into perspective now, in her day and time, color was a thing. And she was raised in a society where the darker you were, the more negative it was, right? But it was so subtle and subversive in everyday life and covert that when she began to have these conversations with me, she wasn't outright saying, oh, you dark skinned, so you're going to have a hard life. She would say things like, oh, you dark like me when I was a little girl. You'll lighten up. Or at the time, Vantex was a part of this black skincare and makeup line, and it was a bleaching cream. She grew up using it, and so she passed it down to me. Well, that in combination with this expectation of lightening up when, I got older, created a color complex in me, because I assumed that because I wasn't light like my mom, my sister, my aunt, and everybody else who lived in the house at the time, that I wasn't pretty. And so I began to wake up in the mornings and go in the bathroom and literally try to scrub the black off of me and scrub my skin until I got light like my mom and my aunts and my sisters. And when she put the Vantex in my hand when I got older, it sent the message to, I assume, that she didn't think I was pretty as a dark-skinned girl. right? So a lot of people are going to get on here and say, well, she should have known better as your mother. No. When you are when you are being raised in a community where the people who love you and protect you are teaching you these things subversively because they are being conditioned by society that this is what socially is acceptable, then this is what happens. So that's an example of assumptions. We make assumptions all the time as adults and misunderstandings because we think that what somebody is saying or what somebody is doing is intended to hurt us, or it has some type of underlying mischievous, devious motive that is connected to whatever we've been dealing with in our past. And that's not the case. If you read the book, he goes into detail about the way assumptions affect us. But the assumptions that we make as Black people are very much so steeped in colorism, race, and oppression because damn near every aspect of our life is around this. So I encourage you to go read the book. So the third rule is to not take anything personal. Taking things personal is when, after you've made said assumption, now you're developing all of these feelings around it. You are drawing conclusions about the character of this person. You're passing judgment on someone based off of these assumptions that you're creating. And now we got a whole misunderstanding. And depending on your attachment type, you either gonna continue to keep that story inside of your head because you have an avoidant attachment type, or you may be the type that's very impulsive. And the minute that you develop an emotion around something that's happening, you just spout words out of your mouth based off of your assumptions. And now you have hurt somebody who really cares for you and who really wants the best for you, because you can't control your emotions and you can't master your mind well enough to not make any assumptions. Or not to take anything personal. So the fourth rule is be skeptical but ask questions. Being skeptical it is a way to protect your energy, because the reality is we live in a world and a society where the come up is the goal, where pretending to be something you're not is easier because you understand that's the code you got to operate in order to achieve or attain whatever it is you're trying to achieve and attain. It's a whole matrix. Okay. Deception is something that a lot of people have mastered. And for those of us who operate in our authenticity, and for those of us who are just real and who don't walk around assuming the worst about people, we are the most vulnerable to being deceived, hurt, used, and abused, and misused. So being skeptical is a way for you to protect your energy. But in the process of being skeptical, it's a thin line between being skeptical and making assumptions. So in order to avoid making assumptions, you ask questions. So if a situation look like, sound like, feel like something you done been through in the past, before assuming that is what that person is intending to do in that moment, ask the questions. What do you mean when you say this? So when you say this, are you saying, help me understand? Can you educate me on the intentions behind why you do this? That is a very simple way to avoid the destruction of valuable relationships. And people who do this operate at a higher level of emotional intelligence and have a better grasp on what is called relationship management. I'm gonna do a Petals of Wisdom on it later, talking about the different pillars of emotional intelligence. But right now, practicing the 5 agreements helps you to manage your relationships. So if you it's a book called Emotional Intelligence 2.0, and it comes with like this assessment that you can take. And when you take the assessment, it'll give you a score in each one of those areas. And then in the book, it breaks down what are some of the behaviors attached to the different subcategories and the grading level. So if you fall between 1 and a 30, then your emotional intelligence in the area of relationship management may look like this and this, and 50 through 70, 70 through 100, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's another tool I would encourage you to use. But I say all that to say that perception is a very powerful thing. It has the power to manifest the life you want or continue to manifest the hell that you can't escape. But it's up to you to decide which one it will be based on the tools you choose to transform your life. All right? So that's all I have for you today on the power of perception. This has been another segment of Petals of Wisdom. These are going to be coming out during the weekdays between the hours of 7 and 8 a.m. because I got to get up out of here. So the last thing I want to do, I got about 2 minutes to go through some important things that are coming up where you can connect with me. All right. So the first thing is the Hoodoo Festival that will be held October 28th out in Madison. You should see the flyers circulating around. But for those of you who are interested in what I'm talking about, the link is down in the description, okay? So you can click the link, go and get your ticket, show up. It's going to be an amazing event. If you know Kari J and the Magic Trap, she's been putting this on for about, I think, 3 years now, and it's always a vibe every single time. So it is basically a congregational space for those of us who are into ATR, where it's a marketplace for healers. That's what it is. It's a marketplace for healers, primarily the Hoodoo community. But it is open to anybody who practices ATR, because if you know me, my specific sector of ATR that I am most drawn to and that I practice most deeply is Kemetic Science. I've been participating in the Hoodoo Fest every year since its inception, and it's always a beautiful thing. I've always use it as the platform to teach different aspects of Kemetic Science. So in the past, I've taught about Kemetic philosophy and symbology. Last year, I taught about the Kemetic Tree of Life and how it is the original breakdown of the chakra system. And I gave the language, the Kemetic language that is attached to the different chakras, and talked about the different deities that I attached to it. Look, my alarm going off. Don't mind that because I got to get through this thing, okay? So, click the Eventbrite, register, get the information. Make sure you're there October 28th. Now, the next link that you see is the tarot class. So this year at the Hoodoo Fest, I will be selling my products. So I have candles. This is my Magic of Men meditation candle for men. It's about divine masculinity. And then I also have, these are 2 of the same candles. I have a Heavenly Heru candle, which is for the divine feminine. And then I have a goddess candle. And they all abide. So I'll have candles. I have the sea mosses, the libido moss for men and women. And then the mouse that I have for like immunity. So it fights the mucus. It's basically I developed it specifically to fight the symptoms of COVID. So it's infused with all kinds of herbs that will help you fight COVID. And then I have tea forms of all of those formulas. I have an elderberry tea, an elderberry syrup. And you'll be able to get all of these things at the Hoodoo Fest. Or you could just click the link in the description and go ahead and place your orders now. Everything is made to order except for the candles. And yeah, everything is made to order except for the candles. So once you place your order, I'll go ahead and whip up your batch, let you know that it's ready, and get it to you. Or you just come see me at the Hoodoo Fest. I will also be teaching, unveiling my Kemetic Tarot class, where I will be breaking down the origins, the Kemetic origins of tarot, giving you a timeline of how tarot has developed, and also giving you some tips on how to read the cards, and even getting into a few different spreads that are unique to Kemeticism itself. All right. So that's all I have for you this morning. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to connecting with you all every other morning, maybe around this time, for more Petals of Wisdom. Oh, let me not forget. Make sure go and join the Kepra Collective, y'all. So the Lotus Room has transformed into the Kepra Collective, and it is a co-ed space now. So it is a space for conscious men and women who are entrepreneurs, who are working on their healing, and also want to elevate their entrepreneurship and just socialize with like-minded people and talk about the things that are important to us. That's where you're able to do this. Okay, so it's the Kepra Collective. You'll see it. I post it on my profile all the time. You can go and join that, and be on the lookout for upcoming events with different partners of the Kepra Collective. And specifically, we started doing Church in the Wild with Marday Weaver. So we gather around the campfire, and it's basically a spiritual potluck where all the healers, hoodoos, hoteps, voodoo, vodou, whatever it is that you're in, even traditional religions, you are welcome as well. We all come together around the campfire, and we just, use the fire to cleanse what's happening within. We commune and talk about, things that matter to us. So if you're a reader, you can bring your tarot cards. If you're a root worker, bring your herbs, put it on the fire. If you are into the waste beads, a candle maker, bring your spiritual gifts. Bring your tools. If you're into the singing bowls, bring those out there, and we just gather around the fire and do what we do as descendants of those who practiced these things long ago. All right, y'all. The alarm is letting me know it is time to go. I got to get up out of here and get to my 9 to 5. So it has been real. I look forward to connecting with you in the various different spaces. Check out my website, join the Kepra Collective, and I'll be talking to you soon. And as I always say, guys and goddesses, I love you to life, and I look forward to taking this journey with you. Peace.